have never told this story out loud. Not the whole thing. Not the part about the refrigerator. Not the part about what was actually on it. Not the part about the notebook. And definitely not the part about what I did after. The part that ended with police cars on my lawn, news vans in the street, and my husband performing grief on national television. I am telling it tonight, all of it, because my husband had a plan for me, a very specific, very carefully constructed plan to break me down, drain everything we had built together, and walk away clean. For 3 years, it was working perfectly, right up until the moment I found out about it. It started with a message on my fridge, 1:47 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I hadn't been sleeping properly in months, and I went to the kitchen for water. The screen lit up when I walked past. It always did. Motion sensor. But this time, there were words on it. White text. Clean font. Like a notification from the universe. You really need to stop eating ice cream at 2 a.m. It's pathetic. I stood there barefoot in the dark, glass of water in my hand, staring at my refrigerator. I hadn't written that. I hadn't touched the settings in months. I took a photo, checked the admin panel, found nothing. By morning, gone. I told my husband Mark over breakfast. He did that laugh, that warm, patient, loving laugh I used to find so reassuring. Babe, the fridge is just glitchy. You're exhausted. Maybe you should talk to someone about these delusions. Delusions. He used that word so easily, so naturally, like he'd been saving it. 2 nights later, another message. Mark deserves better than this mess of a wife. Then, maybe if you lost 10 pounds, he'd stop looking at other women. I showed him every message. Every time, same laugh. And here's the part that still makes me feel sick. I started to believe him. I sat in a therapist's office describing messages on my refrigerator and watched her pen move across the page and thought, this is it. This is the moment I find out I am actually losing my mind. I stopped trusting my eyes, my memory, myself, which, I now understand, was the entire point. Here's what made Mark so dangerous. He never raised his voice, never raised his hand. He didn't need to. On the outside, he was everything. Regional sales director, the man who remembered every name at every party, every birthday, the husband who gave toasts that made everyone cry. Women grabbed my arm at dinner parties. You are so lucky. And I smiled and said I knew. I loved him. For a long time, I loved him completely. He handled the finances, so you don't have to stress, babe. He read my texts. I just worry about you. And always with that same concerned expression, never in front of me, he told my friends I was fragile, unstable, a lot to deal with. One by one, my people disappeared, until I was alone, in a beautiful house with him. My husband thought he had broken me. He forgot I was the one who breaks systems for a living. I came home an hour early on Tuesday. Mark was in the kitchen, back to the door, phone in his hand, connected to the refrigerator's admin panel, typing, with a small, private, satisfied smile on his face that I had never seen before. The smile of a man completely alone with something he enjoys very much and believes no one will ever witness. I stood in that doorway for 10 full seconds. And then I felt something move through me that I still can't fully name. Not rage, not grief. Clarity. I had not been losing my mind. I had been losing a war. And I had been losing it because I didn't know I was in one. That night, I opened a notebook and started writing. Every message, every incident, every friend who had disappeared, every document I had signed without reading. By page 12, I stopped feeling crazy. By page 20, I stopped feeling afraid. By page 31, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Dangerous. I work in IT security. I spend my days finding things people have tried to hide. I am very good at it. The irony is not lost on me that it took me 3 years to turn those skills on my own home network. I sat down at my work laptop and started looking. Mark had set it up his logins years ago and never changed the passwords. Why would he? I was in within 4 minutes. Bank statements first. 2 years of a quiet, deliberate bleed. small amounts moving into an account I had never seen, structured to look like normal fluctuation. You'd miss it completely unless you knew what a financial drain pattern looked like. Then his messages. I wasn't looking for this part. I was following the money, but the thread led me there anyway. A woman named Claire, months of messages, hotel receipts from cities I had packed his bags for, and one line that I have read so many times since I could say it in my sleep. My little wife is not going anywhere. I sat with that for a long time. It wasn't the explosion you might expect. It was quieter and more final. The feeling of a last piece clicking into place. I closed the laptop. Then I went downstairs, made dinner, poured his wine, smiled across the table and asked about his day. He sat there completely at ease, no idea I had just spent 2 hours inside his private network. From that point forward, every single thing he had used against me was going to become the thing that ended him. Here's the thing about a man who controls everything: his finances, his paperwork, his wife's sense of reality. He gets sloppy. Mark had been so focused on managing my mind that he had completely stopped paying attention to the trail he was leaving behind. But there was something else, something I had known about him for years and never once thought to use. Until now. Mark was terrified of birds, not mildly uncomfortable, not the kind of aversion most people have to pigeons on a busy street, completely terrified. He had told me about it early in our relationship, almost embarrassed, and I had never made him feel small for it. I had always steered us away from certain parks, certain restaurants with open courtyards, a holiday destination I had privately changed because I knew there would be peacocks on the grounds. Mark had one weekly ritual that never changed. Every Thursday evening, he went to his private storage unit across town, alone. He had always been secretive about it. I now knew why. It was where he kept the physical records of everything he had been hiding from me. Documents, a second laptop, things he didn't trust to the cloud. 2 days before I disappeared, I made an anonymous call to a wildlife company, reporting an urgent issue at the storage facility unit. I described in significant detail what I had apparently witnessed going in and out of the ventilation gap at the top of the unit door. Starlings, a whole nesting colony of them, dozens. The removal company arrived on Thursday afternoon to investigate. They propped the unit door open. Mark arrived at exactly his usual time. I was not there, but the facility manager's incident report, which I later obtained, described a man who had to be physically assisted out of the building after being found frozen in the doorway of his own storage unit, unable to move or speak, while 2 very confused pest removal technicians tried to explain that they had actually found nothing inside. No birds, nothing at all. He had spent 3 years making me feel like I was losing my mind. He got one Thursday evening of understanding exactly what that feels like. I was 3 weeks deep into my plan. Several of the properties and accounts he thought of as his private empire were still legally half mine. So quietly, with a lawyer and a forensic accountant, I became the majority owner of the empire he thought he was hiding from me. Every evening he came home to his fragile, obedient wife. Every morning she was 3 steps further ahead. Then came the day I had been rehearsing in my mind for weeks. Mark left for his business trip on a Friday morning. I waited until his car turned the corner. Then I moved. I drove to the Scenic Overlook at the edge of the city, the one he had taken me to on our second date. I wanted there to be poetry in it. I parked the car, left my phone on the dashboard, put a handwritten note on the passenger seat. I can't take the lies anymore. I'm sorry. And I walked away. I want you to understand what it feels like to watch your own disappearance on the news from a coffee shop 3 states away, to see your husband on your laptop screen, standing on your front steps, cameras in his face, performing grief with the same practiced warmth he used at every dinner party, and feel nothing but cold, focused satisfaction, because you already know exactly what's coming, and he has absolutely no idea. It didn't take long. The refrigerator messages were the first thing pulled from the cloud backup investigators' access the moment they got into the house. Every message, his fingerprints on every single word, the financial trail pointed in one very clear direction. 2 years of careful bleeding, suddenly very visible to people who knew exactly what they were looking at. Claire came forward because it turns out loyalty dissolves very quickly when your name starts appearing in a missing persons investigation. And then the insurance policy landed on the detective's desk, the one Mark had quietly doubled 2 months before I disappeared, updated without my knowledge. I have thought about what he had planned with that. I have chosen, for my own peace of mind, not to go there. The detective set it down, looked at his partner, didn't say a word. I watched from a distance as everything collapsed. His company cut ties within the week. The house frozen, the accounts, most already emptied because I had gotten there first, seized. The man who had spent years telling me I was nothing had nothing. And every few months, from a number that traced back to nowhere, a text arrived on his phone. 3 words: stop looking back. My name is Elena Voss, except that's not my name anymore. My name is something I chose myself, in a new city, a new life built from scratch, on my terms, with my name on every document and my hands on everything I own. Mark tried to erase me. He used every tool available to him: my trust, my isolation, my own refrigerator. He almost succeeded. But here is the thing about women who get erased. Sometimes, when they come back, you can't find them at all. And that is exactly the point. If you're standing somewhere right now feeling like there is no way out, there is. It might start with you opening a notebook to page 1. It starts. That's all that matters. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have had the courage to do what I did? The next story is coming soon. Hit that subscribe button not to miss it.